Thank you for being here. Sometimes when we do groundbreakings and ribbon cuttings, it's a big building, or last week was the water tank, and the week before it was the dog park. But this smaller dedication tonight is no less significant to our total community effort to deal with addiction and folks in recovery and trying to help all we can. Last February we launched Project Hope, and Matt Kerner has been the most substantial partner with us in this effort. So in just a minute we're going to unveil the Timmy tree in tribute to everyone who is either won or occasionally lost the battle with addiction. I think people who are in recovery are stigmatized during their life, and all too often they are also stigmatized when they succumb in death. And we're out to remove all stigma. So, without further ado, I'm going to call upon Tom Keeley, who's going to give us an invocation, and then Matt will come up and unveil the placard to the Timmy tree, and I'll tell you the little story behind the poem that goes on the tree.
My name's Tom Keeley. I'm a member of the Board of Opportunity House for the last 11 or 12 years. I've been board president for the last 10 years. And often when I'm talking about Opportunity House, the word opportunity brings forth from me various ideas and pictures. And one of them is the word hero, because I think of the staff that we have. Opportunity House is, I think, a significant resource for our county and for our city. I see the work that's going on here often out of sight, out of mind, but important. And invocation. What shall I invoke? What shall we invoke? And what I'm thinking about is opportunity for what? Second chance, more than second chance. Opportunity for, I'm shaking. I think I'm nervous. I'm a retired chaplain from the VA Medical Center, and it's been 12 years or longer since I've speak in front of people, so I'm sort of out of practice. But what I want to evoke is the community spirit that's represented by Opportunity House. Opportunity means someone answering the phone in the middle of the night and saying, "Okay, where are you? I'll be right there." Somebody being in place when they're needed. That's what I want to invoke in the larger community, is the kind of spirit that's represented by the staff at Op House. So, you know what I mean when I say let's invoke that spirit? All the people said, amen.
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 Thank you. Matt, this is so much of what we do is about your good guidance and shepherding us through these processes as we come to grips with problems and as we try to offer genuine hope and help, whether we're assembling or not. So. All right.
Unveil it?
Sure.
Also, real quickly, as we finish this part up, we're going to release 350 balloons today. Biodegradable balloons. To be clear about that. The reason there's 350 is that's the average number of people who die in the United States every day from substance abuse. About 200 of the balloons have names on them from local people who have died. We tried to do this at the Ha-Ha event. We had a premature balloon release. Sometimes those things happen. So now we're going to try to do it again and get it right.
Let me read the inscription, and I'll explain to you how we chose this particular poem. It's entitled "This Is My Life" by Rihanna De La Vega, She wrote this in June of 2010. Again and again, going through withdrawals, my eyes flutter, my skin crawls. Like many times before, I nod off again. In seconds, I come to, unsure of where I am. I don't know if I can take any more. I'm sick yet again and laying on the floor. The acid from my stomach comes up my throat. This is my life, lost without hope. All I can feel is my bones violently shake. One little hit is all it would take. It's hard to believe I've gotten so weak that I allow the tears that roll down my cheek. My blood is cold, my veins are hot, my legs twitch, my arms flop. I try to get up, the pain only grows. The heater on full blast, the fan always blows. I won't want to eat, I know I can't sleep. Never thought I'd be this close to dying. All I can do is lay here crying. I lay in my tub, soaking in the heat, my body feeling brutally beat. I attempt to stand, the room goes black. I lay back down, my soul is trapped. All of this may seem unreal, yet many days this is how I feel. My eyes wander, I can't see straight. My mind goes back to that place I hate. I feel the poison leaking through my pores. I pick at my skin, leaving nothing but sores. I stay a little longer, laying in this dirty floor, praying not to feel these pains anymore. This is my life. Again, this was written by Rihanna De La Vega, and I did some research on her, and I got a Facebook hit, and I made a friend back in June when we decided to use this for the Timmy tree. And we had several messages back and forth. I told her the plan to use this poem on this placard, and she really was just amazed that someone would find this poem out on the internet and include it in something like this. And the week before HaHa, I reached out to her again, and she had told me the last time we had a dialogue that she was having difficulties again, and she's not responded to that message. She's married now and has a couple of little kids and the whole bit. So let's keep Ms. De La Vega in our best thoughts and prayers here this evening too, as she continues her struggles with recovery. Matt, we're ready for balloons, old buddy.
I only counted 349.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Want enough hot air in them. There they go. We're filling up a little bit at least.
That's cool.
Not doing it over here. We're going to have to do this.
Fingers over there. Must not have got the gas, huh?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've started a few minutes late this evening. We just had the dedication of the Timmy tree in front of the Stocker Youth Center, and we'll talk a little bit more about that as we proceed through our agenda. But we're going to start with our traditional moment of silent reflection, and boy, we have quite a lot to reflect about this evening. We've lost several folks in the past couple of weeks, and a couple of others who are battling substantial health issues. Ron George served on various city boards and commissions for many years back in the 1960s, 70s, and 80s. The 80s when I first came to town, and the spring of 1983, Ron was on 2 or 3 different boards at that time. Dr. Blake died this past weekend. We want to keep his family in our best thoughts, wishes, prayers. And 2 of our stalwart contributors to so many things we do. Jerry Kimball, of course, is always one of the leaders with Classic Cars, had a stroke just a day before yesterday. And CJ was just telling me that our good friend Jim Farrell, who advises us on so many things with emergency management, is also back in the hospital battling. We continue to remember those who have been impacted by Harvey and Irma, and now Maria, and now the earthquake down in Mexico. So let's keep all those folks in our special thoughts and prayers as we reflect.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call upon our delegate, Bill Hamilton, this evening to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Would everyone please join me in honoring our country? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have several guests either who identified themselves as wanting to speak prior to our agenda coming out on Monday or who signed up to speak this evening. But before we do that, our tradition is we welcome the Wesleyan students. So Mr. Bonamico, his cousin-in-law is John Waltz, by the way. So we won't hold that against you. Former city council member John Waltz. So, Mr. Bonamico, you can lead off. If you'll face the camera, Mr. Cordes over here will try to make you look as good as he possibly can.
As good as he can.
Yeah, give us your name, hometown, and your major course of study at the college.
Anthony Bonamico. I'm from Bridgeport, West Virginia. I'm a senior criminal justice student as well as a business minor.
Thank you.
I'm Johnny Knox. I'm from Sykesville, Maryland. I'm also a senior. I'm a sports medicine major and a psychology minor.
I'm Megan Branch. I'm a senior. I'm from Fairmont, West Virginia, and I'm an English writing major with a business minor.
I'm Will Wasson. I'm a senior. I'm a history and political science with double major.
I'm Robbie Cornish. I'm from England, and I'm a business administration.
I'm Nina Flores. I'm from Charleston, West Virginia. I'm a junior and a marketing major.
I'm Colin Chapman. I'm from Washington, Pennsylvania. I'm a freshman and I'm studying business administration.
I'm Chad Burns from Longton, West Virginia. I'm a junior. I'm studying business administration.
Glad to have you all here. And if at any point during the meeting you have any questions, don't be bashful about flagging us down. We'll try to, if we don't know the answers, we'll make them up, okay? That's a joke. All right. Don't give them any idea. She's always trying to keep me straight. I want to have fun and get off on tangents, and that's what I do. So our first guest who has to be on the agenda this evening is our most excellent friend, Matt Kerner. Matt, you want to speak to us about some upcoming things?
Upcoming things, I don't think we've scheduled.
We don't have a documentary date yet for the new one that you just made.
The house I live in.
Yeah, the house I live in.
Eugene Jarecki film that basically shows how the war on drugs has failed us for the last 40 or 50 years. Actually goes back into the history of the criminalization of addiction and how its early origins were actually racially motivated. Other than that, we just recently finished the first annual Ha Ha event. Haven't gotten any negative reports. I think it went pretty well for our first time. We learned a few things, maybe a few fewer moving parts the next time, but overall, I think it went pretty well. I was pretty happy with it.
Somebody asked me to guesstimate how many folks were there, since it was kind of a fluid crowd. Not everybody stayed there and got third-degree burns like I did. But
unfortunately, we got that question because part of me on the way over here was, our president in my head going, "It was the biggest one ever."
Yeah, the biggest one ever. That's right. I think they were 300.
so far.
I was estimating 300 people.
Yeah, that's probably a good number at the peak. So, like I said, it was pretty fluid because of the length. So, some people came and left, and other people came, and the times overlapped. So, I think we probably peaked around there.
Not everybody knows your colleague Tom Keeley. He's here also this evening. Tom is your chairman of the Opportunity House Board, is that right?
President.
President.
Director.
Yeah. Well, I've got, you've been duped a bit. I have a presentation I'd like to make. So if you and Tom will come up.
Didn't dress like a refugee.
He said he's glad he didn't dress like a refugee. This is a mayor's proclamation. Whereas Matt Kerner is a proud Buckhannon resident who many years ago came to Buckhannon to attend West Virginia Wesleyan College, but who during the past 11 plus years has served as the executive director of Opportunity House, a residential facility offering comprehensive services and assistance to those in recovery from substance abuse. And whereas Matt Kerner has been a primary partner with the city of Buckhannon, embracing Project Hope, a program aimed at providing those in recovery with health, opportunity, place, and employment. And whereas Mr. Kerner has initiated community-wide dialogue in an effort to lessen the stigma associated with addiction through sponsorship of showing documentaries and general engagement of our community with those in recovery. And whereas Mr. Kerner recently spearheaded the highly successful inaugural Hope and Help Assembly, no laughing matter, bringing people together from all over West Virginia here in Buckhannon to share information and hopeful stories of recovery. And whereas Matt Kerner's selfless and outstanding service and contributions to our community are indicative of our citizen and business ownership in and respect for community activities and represent the very finest example of our high quality of life enjoyed by our residents here. And whereas our city is very proud of one of its most accomplished citizens who steadfastly epitomizes positive thinking, dedication, and accomplishment while serving as an exceptional role model for everyone throughout our BU community, and now desires to recognize Matt Kerner for his outstanding contributions by bestowing upon him our city's Ambassador's Award. Now therefore, I, as Mayor of the City of Buckhannon, pursuant to the power and authority duly vested in me, do hereby proclaim Thursday, September 21, 2017, to be Matt Kerner and Opportunity House Day throughout our city of Buckhannon, to further memorialize Mr. Kerner's devotion to and affinity for his Buckhannon community. I further now hereby bestow upon him the Buckhannon Ambassador Award, thus being but our city's 17th recipient and honoree of this most prestigious honor and award. Appropriately, I direct the installation of a permanent placard upon the Ambassador's Bench on East Main Street in front of our city's Stockard Youth Center to permanently honor Mr. Kerner, the bench bearing the inscription and legend, the Ambassador's Bench, honoring those who selflessly dedicated their lives to the service, promotion, and advancement of Buckhannon. I further urge all of our residents to greet and recognize our city's most honored citizen, Matt Kerner, along with his family, friends, Opportunity House residents, and all members of our city government family during his most special day, given under my hand and the official seal of the City of Buckhannon this 21st day of September 2017, signed by me. Young man, we're very proud to have you as one of our... Thanks for coming. You guys are welcome to stay. It's going to be just wait till we approve those wires.
Does anybody have their laptop? Okay. I have a loaner laptop and the battery is already done. I'm going to take me to my hand.
Uh-oh. Your computer's not working, huh?
No, the battery died.
Well, hopefully it's not your pacemaker, right?
What size? It's a Dell, but it's just not very size.
Cord's too small? Cord's too small?
I don't think I can help.
It's not the right.
We were counting on, is anybody here from the Upshur County CEOs? We were hoping they were going to be here to talk a little bit about Breast Cancer Awareness Day. In your package, you have a proclamation. Breast cancer, huh?
They couldn't be here.
They couldn't be here, as it turned out. Breast Cancer Awareness Day is on October 2, 2017. And the entire month of October is actually Breast Cancer Awareness Month. So we'll be mindful of that going forward. Our next guest is our excellent delegate, Bill Hamilton, who is here to address us about the upcoming election on the road bond amendment. Delegate Hamilton, it's always great to have you here. Come on up, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
I brought these down from my last meeting.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for passing down.
Roads to prosperity. I couldn't get that one out. The road bond amendment referendum. Let me dispel a couple false rumors that are running around about the road bond. It does not, I repeat, it does not raise your taxes. Your taxes have already been raised. Now, when you look at the language, when you go to vote, if you read the language in the bond, it reads that it will increase your taxes. But the reason it reads that way, if you remember the 60-day session, and I kind of like to forget parts of it, but anyway, we were in, the governor ran his Roads to Prosperity Amendment. We passed it in the regular session. But we didn't have the revenue. We thought we were getting the revenue towards the end of the session, and well, I won't mention his name, but anyway, it all fell through with when they had a meeting in the governor's office. They thought they had an agreement on the tax for the road bond, and they started accusing each other of different things, and the meeting broke up, and we went out of session without the tax. We didn't pass the tax until I believe it was June 17th, and that was the DMV fees were raised. The privilege tax on the purchase of a vehicle was raised from 5% to 6%, and then the wholesale price of gasoline went up 3.3%, or 3.3 cents, not percent, cents. Now, you didn't see that raise in your tax in your gasoline price the 1st of July because it was a wholesale price. That was taken off when Governor Manchin was our governor, and he had taken that tax off, and we put it back on this with the DMV fees, etc. One other comment that's been made about, we had an audit of the Department of Highways about 4 or 5 years ago. And in that audit, it came out and it said, one part of it, that the Department of Highways had $112 million on hand. Well, some of the delegates that voted against the referendum and voted against the tax, they alluded to that $112 million that was left over. They said, well, they don't need any money. You know, voters, or the people of West Virginia can't afford this. Folks, we can't afford not to do it. I mean, it's just as simple as that. But when you look at roads and bridges, and I'll give you real good examples on I-64 in South Charleston. That bridge they have worked on probably 5-6 years. That's why that money was in reserve, because when you build a road or a bridge or repair them, your project doesn't always end at the end of your fiscal year, as the mayor and council knows. You know, you've got to have carryover money to carry it on to the next phase. And but that was totally inaccurate analogy on the parts of the people that voted against it. I mean, I'm very adamant about that. But the project to allude to here in Upshur County, it brings in $10.3 million. We've got several projects. There's 22 projects. There's 3 bridges that's going to be replaced. The Tennerton Bridge, the bridge at French Creek on Route 20, and then there's one bridge on the Middle Fork River. that's going to be replaced. We've got several slippage problems in the county along the river, Buckhannon and the Middle Fork River, and we've got the problem out at Spruce Fork on that roadway. And this is something that we took that 131 million or 136, depending on how much revenue comes in at the end of the year, 136 million, and that's dedicated to roads and infrastructure, bridge construction. It cannot be used for anything else. If you vote for this bond referendum, the 1.6 billion, it cannot be used for anything else. They can't use it at Otter State Park or Canaan Valley State Park. It's got to go for roads and bridges, period. Now, if you approve this, that 131 million in fees and taxes and so forth, we can convert that, if you will approve the bonds, we can convert that into 1.6 billion. Now, it's real simple math. We can do a lot more, a lot quicker with 1.6 billion than we can. And we can do it with 131 million, but it takes time. To give you a really good example, there was a bridge at Alexander. I've been the delegate for Upshur County for 15 years. I think every year that was on the list to be, people would call me from that area, when are they going to do the bridge? When are they going to do the bridge? Well, it finally came up, it came down the list, and they replaced the bridge 2 years ago. That's what we'll be faced with if we don't do this referendum. I really hope that the council will agree with me and that you will do a proclamation to back this road bond referendum. And with that, I'll open it up for questions if you have any.
Bill, you always served us well. Can you identify for us some of the organizations and groups that have resolved to support this referendum?
Well, just about every industry in the state, the big county, the State Chamber of Commerce, our local chamber, our development authority. I can go on and on. Manufacturers Association, the Contractors Association, they all support this. And it's not only about building the roads, but this is going to put people to work. Now, the governor says it's going to be 48,000 jobs to be added. I can't dispute that. But just like the governor said the other day in a meeting with my Republican Party, he said, well, what if it's only 10 jobs? Isn't that 10 more than we had last year? But and it's not just the contractors that will come in and do these projects, but the people that go to work. They're going to pay taxes in this state.
Some may wonder whether this is something that would benefit more the outlying areas or the more urbanized areas. The West Virginia Municipal League Board of Directors has unanimously, all 38 members have voted to support this initiative. Mr. Arnett.
I just want to add one thing to note as well, that in the long term, the bond will actually save the state money because the inflation rate in the construction industry is greater than the interest rate on the likely interest rate on the bonds. The inflation in the construction industry is somewhere around 5%, and it's only going to go up over the next, couple dozen years. The likely interest rate on the bonds are going to be probably 3.5% to 4% range. So over the life of the bonds, the state's actually going to save money doing it this way than by paying it down the road, where you're going to get less return, less construction for the same amount of money. I just think that's worth saying.
I'd like to invoke my prerogative to jump down under strategic issues, and specifically we're looking at, now I've lost my place, it's F3, and that we entertain resolution 2017-12 of the city of Buckhannon Let's get a motion on the table to consider the resolution. Let's get it on the table first. We'll get it on the table. I'll read through it. We'll open it up for discussion and additional questions to Delegate Hamilton, and then we'll vote on this thing. I have a motion by Council Lady Albaugh. May I have a second to her motion? Second. I have a second by Councilmember Skinner. Now discussion on the motion, but let me read this. It's a short resolution, and then we'll talk. Whereas the City of Buckhannon supports Roads to Prosperity Road Bond Amendment on October 7, 2017, and whereas there are several important dates to remember which tie into this very important election, September 18, 2017, voter registration deadline to register to vote or update your information for the special election, register to vote, update information, September 22 through October 4, 2017. Early voting is open during regular business hours at each county courthouse or courthouse annex. Early voting is also available each Saturday from 9 to 5. Contact your county clerk to confirm early voting hours and locations. September 30 noon to October 7, 2017, emergency absentee voting eligible citizens may request an emergency absentee ballot until noon election day. Learn more about emergency absentee voting. Saturday, October 7, 2017, election day, polls open 6:30 a.m. through 7:30 p.m. Find your polling place. And whereas our West Virginia roads need fixing and supporting the road bonds will allow us to repair existing roadway from the secondary roads to expressways, small bridges and larger bridges to newly planned projects across the state. And whereas development of roads and road projects means jobs and economic development, as well as improving the safety of our citizens and interstate travelers in our state. And whereas this past session, our legislature passed 5 key pieces of legislation proposed by Governor Justice that put this funding mechanism in place in advance of the coming special election. And whereas these bills do many things, extend private-public partnerships in highway funding, increase the amount of monies for both annual design, build, construction projects, and the state's bonding authority of federal funds that will raise as much as $1.6 billion. But all of this funding cannot happen unless the people also vote for the amendment on October 7th. Now therefore, be it resolved that the City of Buckhannon is in support of the Roads to Prosperity Initiative and urges all citizens to vote for this important amendment on October 7, 2017. If we approve this evening, we would be approving it as of this evening, September 21. So, is there discussion on the motion that would include additional questions that may be posed to Delegate Hamilton?
Are we going to be able to leverage these dollars against federal dollars? I mean, matching funds in any cases, or is this all just?
Yes. Good question. Quarter H, for an example. There's 98, I think it's 98 million in Tucker County, and that's for Quarter H. Now, it's not going to finish the road. It'll get it done to Parsons, and then from Parsons to Davis, we've got to work on that. But it's getting closer. And yes, you can. It's a very good match.
Because a lot of time it's 10% state money and 90% federal money.
Other part of this, not the bond, but another part that we did was the Parkways bill, which that money had to be spent in the 10 counties in southern West Virginia on this adjacent to the toll road. There's $300 and some million. This was brought up yesterday at the Development Authority. That's being spent on the coal highways down there. And the gentleman made a very good comment, said that, how come we're not spending enough here at Quarter H? That money is coming out of the Parkways money. That Parkways money can only be spent on those tolls. It can only be spent in those 10 counties. And hopefully it's going to complete that road. So once that road's completed, then we can divert more money towards Quarter H. Because people keep asking me, why are you such a proponent of Quarter H? It says done in your county, what are you worried about? We got to connect it.
Yeah.
You know, that's going to be our salvation here.
That's why we built it.
Yeah.
Well, Bill, you're well aware that the Federal Department of Transportation is expecting a 300% increase in the traffic on that highway when it's completed. Think about that. It's 3 more cars for every car we got right now that's going to be coming across that excellent highway. And a lot of them will stop in at Buckhannon and eat, and some of them will decide maybe to move here, right?
That's right. Yeah. One thing, you know, I serve on the Finance Committee in the House. That's my major committee. And one thing that in 3 years that I've been on the Finance Committee with the Court of Claims, every department in the state comes in and gives us a budget. We've got to approve or disapprove or move money around and so forth. But I've noticed with the Court of Claims, what they're paying out for highways, for people had their car's broken down due to a pothole or something, it goes up every year. And you know, we've got to address this. It's better to do it now than later.
Council, other comments, any questions for Mr. Hamilton? I would like to call for the question. All those in favor of approving this resolution, please signify by saying aye, and then we'll do a roll call vote. May I have your voice vote first?
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. We'll call the roll. Pam Kaparian,
Yes.
Robbie Skinner,
Yes.
J. David Thomas is absent, Mary Albaugh,
Yes.
C.J. Rylands,
Yes.
Susan Alloy,
Yes.
and the mayor votes yes. The minutes will reflect that this resolution carries unanimously.
Thank you
Those
very
in
much.
attendance. Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thanks for coming,
Keep up the
Bill.
great work, and you're welcome here any first or third Thursday
Thank
when
you.
you're in town.
All right.
Thank you a bunch. Appreciate it.
So the Court of Claims, I got to look.
Our next guest is Rent Duesenberg, who's here with Congressman Mooney's office. Mr. Duesenberg, you want to welcome to council, please?
Thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor, council persons. I'm Rhett Duesenberry. I live in Elkins, and I'm a representative, constituent representative for Congressman Alex Mooney. I'm just taking over a part of the territory as of a week ago. I'll be servicing Randolph, Upshur, Lewis, Calhoun, and Wirt. And I'm here for your accessibility way I can help when it comes to the Congressman's office. If you would indulge me, I live in Elkins, and for the college students that are here, this is a perfect example of community. I mean, I don't know if this happens where you come from, but a lot of times when you move somewhere and you get involved and you see what a person like this or these gentlemen do. Today I was in Charleston at the American Conservative Union's conference on opioid addiction and the impact that it's had. And it's a family issue, and it's a human issue. It's not a Republican, it's not a Democrat, it's not a rich or poor. And we have some tough times ahead in our society. But the main thing that you have to have, whether you're religious or not, is hope. And you know, everybody knows addiction one way or another, family member, friend. And if you can just stay clean today, I'm not going to have today. And you wake up in the morning, not going to have tomorrow, and look for hope. And that's what I see in Buckhannon and other communities that I'm servicing. And that's what we need to have. But I just thought what a great lesson that these young college students had tonight in community. And I'd like to thank y'all for what you espouse for Buckhannon and the ambassadors that y'all are of Buckhannon.
Thank you, Mr.
On the federal issue, when it comes to, he ducked out. Well, some people say, including the governor, you know, that with some of the relationships they've made, that if they do that infrastructure, if they can get the infrastructure bill done in D.C., that it'll help us with some quarter range funding. But you know how that goes. We don't know if it's going to rain or sunshine tomorrow. Might be a probability or not. But and I agree that traffic will increase, and that might help everybody down the line, and I think we've been waiting on long enough, and I just wish that we had the volume where we could entertain a toll road, a public-private partnership. I'm originally from North Carolina. I'm a carpetbagger, according to a lot of people, but I look at it like this: as long as you're looking to help the community you live in, it doesn't matter what bag you carry, paper bag, carpet bag. I was right above Charlotte, and we did a public-private partnership. Well, the state did down there with a toll road for 40 years, and when they build it, they maintain it, and they get the toll off of it, and in 40 years, they have to give it to the state in the exact condition it was in when they finished it the first time. But that was good to help traffic flow, but also they had a nuclear power plant they had to be able to evacuate people out of. But I just wish that we already had the volume. But this will help investment, I think, personally, in not only Upshur, but also Randolph and West Virginia. And also, I happened to attend your development council yesterday morning, and y'all have some really sharp folks, not only on the board, but also that are working for the city of Buckhannon on that. Broadband, I don't have to tell you about that. That's one of the things that Woody Thrasher's pushing, you know, and I think that's going to help us as well. But like I said, I'm not here for Republican or Democrat issues. I'm here for constituent issues. I take care of everybody if I can, so let me know if I can help you. I'll be attending in the neighborhood. And I've given, several of you. How are you, Mr. Skinner? Long time no see. I know. Did I give you one?
Not just yet, thank you. Thank you very much.
I'll give you another one if you want to. But pleasure to meet y'all, and thank you for your indulgence. And if y'all don't have any other questions of me.
I have a question.
All right, sir.
Since Mr. Kerner is here with his president of his board, a couple of months ago, President Trump signed an executive order declaring a state of emergency relative to the opioid epidemic and assuring that federal resources would be forthcoming for states and municipalities like ours. Buckhannon, if we lose one person to the drug epidemic, that's bad enough. Between January 1 and April 30th, we lost 7. I don't know what the total is right now. I've kind of lost track of it the last 4 months. But, and we're one of the least impacted communities in all of West Virginia. Is Congressman Mooney going to support measures to allocate those resources so that they can come back to us at the local level so that we can invest those resources in programs that are going to help with this problem? Is that something that's on the table for discussion right now?
Well, I'm sure it's on the table. I mean, that's one thing about Congressman Mooney. He likes solutions. And I will tell you today, after listening to the Attorney General of the United States, our Attorney General Patrick Morrissey, and several panels, and also the congressman, they are well aware it's an epidemic. Not just a local or a statewide, it's a national. And I mean, they're bringing in the whole thing, you know, drug companies, distribution, interdiction, law enforcement, incarceration, prevention, counseling. I mean, they hit on all of those. I don't profess to be knowledgeable when it comes to, and I mean, they also have some of the #1 people, I forget the gentleman's name right off the top of my head, but he's been doing forensic toxicology and everything, and his PhD in the early 70s was on cannabis, and he ended up creating a $700 million company on drug testing, and he is supposed to be the #1 guy in the United States, and he spoke today, and so they have a lot of good folks that they're touching with. But I mean, I'm sure that that's just a few of them. But as anybody else will tell you, you have to admit that you have a problem before you can start addressing it. And it's going to be tough like they said, you know, some of the issues are socioeconomic. Some of them are I wouldn't say predetermined addiction, but, you know, and then also some of them are just, one gentleman told a story of a family member of his that worked for Ford, and he'd been laid off and was doing drugs because he was depressed, and then all of a sudden he got called back, and his first check to celebrate, he went out and overdosed. So not only is it to escape certain situations of hopelessness or whatever, or of addiction, it's also sometimes people go to celebrate and it goes wrong. And like I said, I don't profess to be able to grapple the issue myself because I don't have the training, but they were all in support of doing whatever we can in all those avenues.
Please let Mr. Mooney know that we really need resources to battle this epidemic.
I will.
I don't want to make it sound like money makes the world go round, but it borrow the old metaphor. It sure greases the wheels. So
yes, sir.
We appreciate
and
it.
one of the other things I've also been telling a lot of communities is I've found a lot of communities want us to get involved in certain situations, and unfortunately we can't do mediation, arbitration, litigation. However, we can help, like on grants. If you do not have a grant writer,
well, we will
have one trained or team up with someone. A lot of the smaller communities are going with their development corporations so they can piggyback, and we'll be more than happy to take a look at it. And if it's straight up, they'll give it a letter of endorsement.
Thank you.
So,
Appreciate that.
because we know that you can get law enforcement grants and all these other grants as well.
We'll be reaching out for that guidance. We could use it.
Well, sure. It's a pleasure to meet you finally.
Any
I've
other
come by once or
questions,
twice and missed you, but, sir?
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. We appreciate you.
Have a good night.
Thanks for coming.
All A's, guys, all A's. College isn't cheap. There we go.
Okay, is there anybody else who wants to address the council? I think we've covered all the guests that have identified that they wanted to speak. We're down to department and board reports, and first up is our Public Works Director, Jerry Arnold. Jerry?
Most important. That's not encouraging. What leaves when you get up to speak there.
Thanks, Matt. Thanks, Tom. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you both.
We opened bids today on our 2017 paving projects, and we'll give notice to proceed to the lowest bidder pending review of specifications. And again, I didn't have time to plug those numbers in the report, so I did write them in here. The apparent low bidder is at $83.90 a ton, which will be a total of both projects. The projects are a portion of West Lincoln Street and all of Thurman Avenue, and that total price is $83,774.15, and that is the apparent low bidder, which was Cooper Blacktop and Cooper Asphalt. And again, we'll have to do a spec review, but as of now, it looks like that's who's going to be doing our paving mission. Theater floor demolition is about 90% complete. Got a crew working in there tomorrow, probably knock the rest of that out, and then starting next week, we'll start with our volunteer overtime crews, pouring foundation footers for the new floor, and then start installing the new floor as soon as late next week, early fall. I will be responding to a letter you all received a letter from Mr. Hill, Jason Hill, light bulb. I've got a response to that, and we'll be sending that to each of you, and council will be on the agenda for council next meeting. Also, we will be installing the fall decor on Main Street starting next Monday. Hopefully that's a half-day job, but we will see. Supervisors, we had nothing new to report. Water Department continues to work on residential meter replacements and to install a fire service tap for C.J. Rollins on Main Street. Sewer Department continues to work on the clarifier project and expected to be completed around the first week of October, and installing a storm water drop near the basketball court at Jawbone. Waste Department had nothing new to report. The Street Department began work on an enterprise lot project and excavated the 88 parking spaces at North Buckhannon Park that we'll be placing pervious concrete to meet the FEMA regulations on that Land and Water Conservation Fund grant, which we have to complete by the end of the year. Engineering, I've got nothing new to report. Jay had a couple items on there. One of them down in the agenda was the notice to proceed for engineering, which will require signature from the mayor for the Gateway West project.
Phase 1, right?
Yes, which is the north side. That's what Gateway West one.
Gateway West one.
That's, and then we'll have a Gateway West South project. That's all I have, Mayor.
Questions for Jerry Arnold? Do you want to say anything about Fall Fest?
What's to say? Show up. Everybody come out. Enjoy yourself.
You're one of you and Amby are our Fall Fest gurus. I thought you'd like
The ambassadors of fall.
My favorite season. What fall decor is going to be installed? Are they banners or?
Well, he doesn't want to.
Oh, it's a surprise. Like we're just going to be wearing an acorn hat or something.
He's already wearing his Fall Fest outfit.
He's got his Fall Fest on. So it's a
Now come out
surprise.
next Friday and Saturday. We're doing Friday, of course, CJ's got a special edition of Festival Fridays going on. The carnival will be in town. We'll be doing wagon rides from City Hall here around town on Saturday. Antique tractor show on Main Street. We'll have an antique car cruise in at Lot 3. Again, the carnival. There'll be different bands performing throughout the day. The apple butter making in Jawbone. It kicks off the first thing in the morning with the 5K. Then at 5 we close Main Street. There'll be reenactments by Gene Thorne. And then about 7 o'clock we'll have a square dance in front of the theater on Main Street. And that'll go to about 10 or 11. So everybody come out, have a good time. I've talked to several people from other counties that pass the word around, really excited. That's how I got to do the square dance call.
Can I ask you who it was?
Is a gentleman, actually there's 3 gentlemen that are going to help out with that, but the main one's 80 years old, and he was just tickled to death. He said, "I'm dancing on Main Street, Buckhannon," so that was it first maybe for all of us.
Live music with it?
Yes. So everybody come out and enjoy yourself.
We're pretty stoked about this.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
When's the carnival actually going to open up?
Carnival starts Wednesday evening, the 27th. And again, the price, everything's on the CBB site. If you go to Upshur County CBB, all the information is there.
Visit Buckhannon.org.
There you go.
Thanks, Jerry. Questions, comments, Mr. Skinner?
One quick question. Swisher Street,
Swisher Street, yes.
is that still looking like it's going to happen in 2017?
Yes.
Okay.
Raz assured me, Robbie, that would be done before snow.
Okay.
And they have in sewers or in the sanitary board meeting this evening to discuss. There's also a sewer component involved in that culvert crossing,
Okay.
so they're looking to address both those problems. But yes, sir.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate you. To all the guys, we appreciate them too. Amby Jenkins.
We also need crafters for this Fall Fest. We've got a few of them, so
Right.
if anyone has any craft skills and want to sell their wares, be sure to contact me, because I don't want to have to end up making pot holders.
Amby, did you put a call out to Artistry on Main for the
Yes, we
artists?
got contact. And then before I get into the financial statement, another thing I want to tell you about that I'm sure you're all interested in is 161 Wood Street is nearly very close to being taken care of. The asbestos inspector has sent in his 10-day notice. And then right after that, the asbestos will be removed, and then our crews will go in and start demoing that house that's been sitting there away for a while, halfway burnt down. So it won't take our crews long to clean that up.
Right, that's really important.
Yeah. Okay, in your packets, we've got one of those tasks that are required by code, but it's an important task. It's the financial statement for the general fund and coal tax for the fiscal year running July 1st of last year to June 30th of this year. Richard Trent, we contract with Richard Trent. He's a certified public accountant that does an excellent job for us to help us complete this document. We have to have it published in the local newspaper as a Class 1 legal ad, and then we have to and then I have to send it to the state auditor's office. So I'm in it. I'm just going to go over some highlights. First thing you'll see is the balance sheet. The assets, under the assets line, the cash is what's coming from our money market and checking account. The restricted accounts, the historic landmarks savings account. The investments are CDs from Stockert Youth and the $82,000 CD that we have. Stockert Youth's $150,000. Taxes receivable are the property taxes and the utility taxes and fire and police taxes that are receivable at the time of June 30th. Accounts receivable are fire and police. Notes receivable, sanitary board, there's a couple items the sanitary board owes the general fund for loans. One was the Brook Street project. There's a loan. They still owe about $31,000 on that. And then there's a $31,000 on Brushy Fork. Back that up. $31,000 on Brushy Fork and $40,000 on Brook Street. Okay, so that makes a total of assets of $1,350,000. And then on your second page, you'll see revenues and expenses. Total revenues, $3,866,000. And really, there's nothing too glaring there, except you'll see under street department billings, that's up quite a bit from last year, but that has to do with our sidewalk projects that we get money back from customers or residents that want to participate in that. So that's $44,765. Seized property is that came from the police department during it was a drug incident where they seized $27,756, which goes back into the police department. I think they use that mostly for security and to upgrade their conference room. It has to be given back to the police department. Fire department grant, $15,000, that comes from our volunteer fire department. They contribute $15,000 from their funds for the fire truck payment. And then got $18,000 down there that came from the coal severance tax. That $18,000 was expensed from that for paving. $40,000 in intergovernmental local capital is from the municipal fund stabilization fund. $40,000 came back into general fund for the theater. Donations in capital, that's coming from the pro officer from the Board of Education, and then there's a bus donated, a couple buses donated, and that comes from that as well. Then you'll see your expenditures is $3,861,000, and then on page 3, I'll just go over the expenditures for capital assets, $206,000. Those expenditures for capital assets was the air pack that was given to us from California, but we had to make them usable. That was about $20,000. The theater expenses in there, storm sewer for Randolph Street, paving, and then the donations of the buses were in there. So then you'll also see your vendors list. That's going to be published in the paper hopefully next, well, it will be next week. And if you have any questions, if I can't answer it, I'll ask the accountant of some of these depreciations and liabilities. I would have to probably get some answers on those.
The accounting majors? Andy, the documents that say for internal use only are not what's being published, just the vendor list?
No, this will be published as well.
Yeah.
That's what actually comes from Richard Trent. That's his information. We'll send that to the newspaper. Now, they may clean that up once I send it to them. They may clean that up. He's using it for his internal use, but that will be published.
Removed before the public.
You don't need us to approve it.
No, it's just your
It's all good
information.
to go. I didn't see any resolution.
No, it's a task that has to be done. It's mandated and it'll be published.
And it's done every year, right?
Every year.
Anything else, Amby?
Nope.
Questions for Mrs. Jenkins, anyone? Thanks, Amby. We appreciate everything that you and Barb and Teresa and all of our excellent City Hall staff does too. It's not just the guys in the trenches, but it's the folks here at City Hall as well. Next up is oh wait, I'm just going to get ready to.
Oh, wait.
Just Doug Loud. I was getting ready to go with Doug Loud. I was going to say Matt Gregory's not here, but a better looking guy is here than Matt since Matt's here. But Tom, you're up next. I apologize. That's going to start a real riff. Don't be wrong.
Amby stole a little bit of my thunder. I was going to talk about Wood Street, but that's all right.
You did a lot of work at that.
Well, no, that's all right. Most of what I do I can't talk about, but I can talk about a couple of things. And I've been working with Jerry to get the uniform contract finalized. I think we're going to have that done here within the next few days. And if council will recall, a few months ago we entered, or you approved entering into a vehicle lease agreement for city vehicles to be leased instead of purchased. There's been an inquiry from the city of Lewisburg. That's, I thought it was Bluefield, but it was Lewisburg, to kind of piggyback on our lease for their benefit as well. I think another example of where Buckhannon is kind of leading the way. As a matter of policy, I'm not going to express an opinion on whether or not you should do that. That's your decision as a council. But what I would recommend is that should you elect to permit this to happen, that you do a couple of things. One, it would require, in my opinion, the drafting and execution of a separate agreement between Buckhannon and Lewisburg, as well as an amendment to the lease in order to protect and indemnify the city of Buckhannon from any liability arising from Lewisburg's use of vehicles under this program. And that would include Lewisburg naming the city of Buckhannon as an additional insured on their insurance policies for any vehicles that they lease under this program. So it's a way to help a sister city develop this project. There are probably economies of scale that come into play when we add. This may, I don't know, we have to look at the lease and see, but it's entirely possible that this may result in a reduced lease rate for us, given increased volume of vehicles that would be put into play. But at the same time, we have to take the appropriate steps to shield the city from, we don't want to be on the hook for any acts of negligence that employees of the city of Lewisburg would commit. And so if the council is of a mind to permit Lewisburg to participate in this program as part of our lease, and I don't know how exactly it would work, whether they would essentially, they would operate essentially as a sublessor, and we would sublet to them the vehicles that they need, or what. I mean, we're very early in the discussions, but before we went any further, maybe a little bit of guidance. We don't need any, we can't take any action tonight since it's not on the agenda, but some guidance and counsel, making sure you're all aware of the possibility would be very welcome. So I'd be willing to take direction on that front at this time.
I don't know that we knew that we were so novel in this approach when we started it, but it might be something at the October quarterly meeting of the Municipal Lake Board of Directors. I may want to take that to the whole body and say, why don't we do this
through the municipal league?
You know, whoever wants to opt in, and the more participation we would have, I would certainly think
hopefully that would give us
would be less and
leverage
less.
with the leasing company, and then you can get into the point where maybe we could have a couple of leasing companies compete for the business.
Yeah, that would be a good thing, good issue to have to deal with, right?
David, didn't General Services Administration, GSA, was that just for federal government? They used to do leasing of vehicles.
I don't know.
Yeah, because there used to be a contract for it, a mandatory contract if you go to look at vehicles.
We used to buy through the state pool some vehicles. That was another thing altogether. But this lease job is way better.
Well, you're getting better quality vehicles at a lower cost, and then you're not saddled with a dilapidated asset.
Well, you lose that temptation. It's like I'm on year 7 on my car right now.
Yeah.
And stuff's starting to go wrong with it. And, I probably should have traded it in last year. But, you know, it's like, oh, no, it's going to be good for another couple of years, you know. And so this plan, we're 5 years, we give it back and get a new one.
Year to year. But yes.
You know, it wouldn't hurt to contact the leasing company and inform them of what
they absolutely have, but we cannot do something like this without consultation.
But I mean, ask them, say, hey, we're considering taking this to municipal league, and what are your thoughts on that? It's obviously they're going to be for it, and it could, you know, dramatically increase, you know, their revenue. So maybe they'll remember Buckhannon as the one that helped them with all this.
We'll contact Lisa Dooley, Executive Director of the Municipal League, tomorrow. See if she wants to put that on the agenda for October.
Or have someone from this leasing company come and talk to the Municipal League Board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Other than that, the only other matter I have is Ordinance 419, which we get to under...
Is there any updates on the litigated, we haven't completely finished the compact backhoe matter?
No, and I was just speaking with Mr. Skinner before council meeting about that. We are still awaiting contact from the adjuster to get that finalized, and my understanding is that the claim has been submitted. Okay, so the claim is in process. I'm a little surprised that someone at City Hall has not been contacted by an adjuster yet. Given that it's in litigation, probably I would hope that they would contact me about it. But you know, we still have the suit, you know, there ready to. I mean, the suit is filed, so I mean, we can proceed if we don't receive any, you know, we don't receive any satisfaction that way. On our other suit, the ball is in their court, and we're waiting to hear back.
Our HRM.
Yeah, and we have a little bit of leverage actually now that we didn't have before, because the plaintiff's allowed the discovery date to run, and it's actually set for trial October 10th. So, you know, there's been no, I mean, you know, we've tendered discovery. They haven't named witnesses. So I think we're in pretty nice, because now they're just going to move to continue, and they'll probably receive, you know, they'll be granted a motion until next term. But I've been in touch with plaintiff's counsel and have asked, you know, has his client considered, you know, a settlement offer? So the ball's in their court.
Good. Thanks, Tom. Any questions for Mr. O'Neill? Appreciate your work. Doug Loudon. in place of Chief McGregor.
That sounds enthusiastic.
It's because I've been thinking about it. First of all, the chief from the fire department asked me to read this message. The Buckhannon Fire Department urges citizens to be extra cautious with fire due to recent higher temps and lower rainfall. Outdoor burning is not permitted in the city limits. In the county areas, outdoor burning is permitted by state law at any time, day or night, until October 1st. From October 1st to December 31st, outdoor burning is only permitted from 5 p.m. to 7 a.m. However, we would advise any citizens in the county to use extra caution, and we would recommend that you consider postponing outdoor burning until our temperatures and fuel moisture return to normal. As far as our report, in your packet is the activity report for the Buckhannon Police Department for the month of August. Also, the police department has been in contact with representatives from CALEA to begin the process of accreditation. It was recommended to us that before we start our accreditation process, that representatives from the police department attend the CALEA National Conference, where training will be conducted concerning the accreditation process. In mid-November, the chief and I will travel to Jacksonville, Florida to attend the CALEA conference. The approximate budget needed for this conference is $3,000. On Wednesday, September 20th, yesterday, the police department assisted numerous federal, state, and local agencies with serving federal warrants on subjects wanted in connection to the distribution of stolen firearms and methamphetamine. The subjects arrested were both from within the city as well as the surrounding county. The press release, there is a press release from the Department of Justice in your packets as well. The police department recently worked with the Upshur County Airport Authority on a tabletop exercise meant to evaluate the airport's emergency plan. The exercise took place in the Public Safety Building Community and Training Room. On Tuesday, September 26th, the police department will partner with West Virginia Wesleyan Security for a tabletop exercise focusing on an active shooter scenario. The police department continues to partner with the West Virginia Wesleyan Center for Community Engagement and has welcomed back Zach Patchy as a student volunteer. He's been a great help. He's getting stuff ready for trunk or treat and the Halloween safety things that we do in the elementary school. The police department, partnering with our VIPS members, will be out and about participating in the Fall Fest next week. The police department will be providing security during the Hate Has No Home Here event on Friday, September 29th. We are working with the Sheriff's Department and State Police in this endeavor. We're preparing for the worst, but hoping for the best. So, in that situation, that's all I have.
Questions for Lieutenant Lowdy?
In your report, we generally use these numbers, 301, 302. If there's a, we could put a scale or an index that identifies the numbers with officers' names off to the side or something else.
I'll let Matt do that.
And it looks like, so our ratio to citations and warnings is now 2-to-1, it appears, 270 warnings and 142 citations. So now that we're tracking them, we have a little more accurate information. So that's it.
Do we have to approve the money for them to go to that conference?
It's part of their budget, and if they need money, we'll come up with it later. But it's a great trip. First step. Yep. Thanks, Doug. Tell all the guys to be safe.
I was wondering if I could talk about the acquiring the Narcan for our department as well.
Yeah, we're gonna take that up under strategic. Can you wait for a few minutes? We'll ask you to chime back in, but.
Yeah.
Before you, I think as a policy matter, the council needs to discuss that and approve it before we actually do it, but we're all for it, I think.
Right. Yeah, I'll comment whenever you're.
Yeah, if you can stick around for a few, or we could move down there and take it up right now. Let's, okay, I'll invoke the prerogative to, under F2, discussion and possible action of equipping all municipal first responders with Narcan. This is something that I have been advocating for some time, and many agencies, I don't know how many there are in West Virginia, but hundreds of agencies across the country have been doing this for some time. The thing with Narcan is you want folks who know how to administer it, so there's going to have to be a short training program. I'm told by Matt Kerner and others that inside an hour, got to have a little flyer that what's the Narcan for dummies kind of a thing. It's not a big deal at all. So why don't we put it on the table, and then we'll have discussion and pick Doug Loudon's brain a little bit on it. Does that sound like a plan? May I have a motion to approve strategic item F2, which would be the approval of Narcan, going with all first responders, police and fire department members? I have a motion by Mrs. Capari. May I have a second to her motion? Second. I have a second by Mrs. Albaugh. Now let's discuss the motion. And I think maybe the first point of discussion would be letting Doug weigh in.
Just for your information, the health department has informed Matt that through their program, they will more than likely be able to provide those at no cost to our department and are willing to train us. And along with Matt Kerner and his crew, we'll have them help us, but I think, we still need to, go have the health department do the training and supply the Narcan to us, because then that way, we're affiliated under their agency, as well as the doctor who's their director, who's I believe also the director for EMS. So that way we have some kind of formal organization that we're advised by.
Has there been discussion across the board through the department about this change in the way, something else that you gotta have in the glove box, or it's...
Well, our department, we're first aid and CPR certified. We also are trained to self-treat if we're in an active shooter situation, if we get wounded. The officers have to continue on. They can't stop and treat a fellow officer even though they go down. They have to go and neutralize the threat. So we're also trained to self-treat. So this is just an added tool to our benefit as well as the community.
Doug, you've heard the stories, as we all have, about this super fentanyl that is out there.
Carfentanyl.
Where, police officers, firefighters go into a situation and they brush up against somebody's coat that has inadvertently had this powdery residue placed on it. And within a couple of minutes, you see the symptoms of an overdose, even though all you've done is come into contact with somebody's clothing.
Right.
So this would have, not only if you found somebody on a park bench able to save a life, but there is internal benefits that could befall us relative to our own first responders.
You said it best. Not only for us, but also for the guys with the street department as well. If they, come upon a package that had the narcotics laced with carfentanyl and fentanyl, if they absorb it into their skin, then, if they show the symptoms, and I believe some of the other departments are looking at obtaining this for them as well. But, the faster we can respond to it, the better the person will be.
There's information about Narcan in your packet that was pointed out to us by Matt Kerner. And Narcan, there are no instances where anyone has ever died from a Narcan administration. So it's a win-win kind of a proposition. And if we end up getting these doses that would be carried in cruisers for free, and the training is for free, why would we not do this? So that's the question that is now posed to the council. And the motion has been made and seconded. It's ripe for action. I would call for the question. All those in favor of our city adopting a policy whereby we will equip all first responders in our police and fire departments with Narcan, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. The minutes will reflect that that motion also carries unanimously.
Matt also wanted me to inform you that he's already looking at policies and procedures from other agencies, and that way we'll be prepared for whenever we are trained in it, we'll have the policies and procedures in place.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, our friends from up north that we're working with Kalia, I think they have a section on Narcan administration in their manual already. So, super. We appreciate you, John. Tell all the guys to, again, to be safe. All right, thank you. Okay, now let's get back to under item D, correspondence and information. I'm not going to say much about these things, but I'll tell you what's in the packet. As you all know by now, the city of Buckhannon was recognized as having the preeminent best water system in the state of West Virginia, recognized by West Virginia Rural Water Association at the meeting just a week or so ago. You have several proclamations that I have signed. The Day to Remember proclamation relative to 9/11, the National POWMIA Recognition Day. September 17th was Constitution Day, and the days before that and after that were Constitution Week. There's a press release on the groundbreaking of our new 1.2 million gallon water tank at the top of Victoria Hill. There's a flyer relative to Fall Fest. There's a flyer on the haunted walk trail that we're sponsoring through the Stockert Youth Center on October 28th. There's the flyer for Trunk or Treat on Monday, October 30th. There's the flyer on our City of Buckhannon Trick or Treat Night on October 31st. And lastly, there is a proposed timeline and legal notice regarding the Information Grants Coordinator position. I'd like to jump back to that if I could for just a minute. If I can find the right spot. I marked too many things here that I wanted to look at. Just highlight these time frames. We have already approved the hiring of this position. The City Council has the general fund. Since we did that a couple of council meetings ago, we went through the cycle with Sanitary Board, Consolidated Public Works Board, Waste Collection, and Water. And all four boards have approved partnering with the council and the general fund to sponsor this. So the timetable that we're proposing, if you look in your packet, we have our meeting tonight. Tomorrow we would deliver the notice of the position, and that's on the page just opposite of that, to the Record Delta, the Intermountain, and the Western newspapers, beginning next week and then the week there following. So from September 25th through October 6th, these ads would appear once a week in these various newspapers. That's a Class 2 legal ad. Interested parties, applicants, would have until Saturday, October 28th to either postmark or deliver their applications the day before to City Hall. We would convene a special council meeting. Don't get too excited because we're just moving it up an hour. Our regular meeting would be November 2. During that hour of 6 to 7, we would determine the applicants that we would like to interview. We would commence that interview process during the week of November 13th. We would have another special council meeting on Thursday, November 30th, to select and announce our successful candidate, and that applicant would begin their employment with Buckhannon on Tuesday, January 2, the day after New Year's Day. We would introduce them to the public on the first council meeting in 2018, which would be January 4th. How's that? No, 23rd is the consolidated public works board meeting. Second would be waste, the 9th would be water. That's a good point. You might be honest.
Might be right.
I love it. The fourth Thursday in November is November 23rd.
That's
Mayor.
Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Could I get Dave Thomas's packet out of his things, because I don't have all of it in mine on the thing about the,
Oh, you want the dates?
well, I have one page.
She's missing.
Well, that was intentional. We didn't want you to know what was going on.
Yeah, we keep in the
Half, I want to know.
Oh, you know what, I only have 1 through 6.
She doesn't have this.
I've only got
or
this.
Here, you can have mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have that part.
CJ's going to
I don't have the page you have.
Well, I've already read it, you haven't read the other, you want?
We'll figure this out later. And
Okay.
also, as soon as we can get dates and times for those executive
Yes.
sessions, we can get them on our
Let
schedule.
me suggest this, since we have consolidated at 4 o'clock, why don't we move the special council meeting to 6 o'clock? Would that work for everyone?
On November 30th.
Yeah, on November 30th, that's the fifth Thursday.
Am I
in
correct,
November.
Andy? That consolidated
You're-
is moved to the 30th because the 23rd is Thanksgiving?
I think she's spot on. I hate to admit that.
So we want to do November 30th on the 6th at 6 PM for special council?
November 30th at 6, following completion of the consolidated public works program. That's a good catch. That's a good.
Well, I'm putting the dates on my calendar.
Yeah, that's good.
Except we need number 6 for those dates.
Do we have to have a motion for that?
Nah, it's just, we've already approved the position, it's just the time frame. And then you have the notice that will go in the paper will include the 7 items that were approved by council.
Oh, okay.
It takes us down to the consent agenda. There are 3 items that comprise our consent agenda this evening. The approval of our minutes for the last regular meeting of September 7, the approval of our building and wiring permits, and lastly, the approval of the payment of our bills. I would entertain a motion that we approve our consent agenda.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Rylands. May I have a second to his motion?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Skinner. Is there any discussion on that motion? Hearing of the need for none, I'll call for that question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign, motion carries. Takes us down now to strategic issues for discussion. And a couple of these things we've already taken up, but one that we haven't is the revised draft on our sewer rate increase ordinance. This would be a first reading, and we'll defer to Mr. O'Neill for explanation and reading by caption. Mr. O'Neill?
And you have revised, you hand out the revised.
Yes, I did.
Yes, we have.
Okay, I don't.
Everybody got it this time?
I wrote it. I have
Actually, it was
computer.
with your packet, I think. I thought it was
It's on
with your
paper.
packet.
I'll read my caption and then discuss and then take questions. This is ordinance number 419 of the city of Buckhannon, and ordinance first amending, modifying, and reenacting ordinance numbers 233, 291, 295, 307, 333, and 403 of the city of Buckhannon, and Article 917 of the codified ordinances of the city of Buckhannon, and second, specifically establishing new sewer rates and charges for sanitary sewage collection and disposal services provided by the Sanitary Board of the city of Buckhannon. As you'll recall, over the summer, a rate study was undertaken by the accounting firm of Smith, Cochran, and Hicks. That rate study found, let me grab my copy of it here. That rate study found that the sewer rate increase, the 10% sewer rate increase that was enacted in 2016 is insufficient to meet the sewer board's rates. The rates were insufficient to meet the operating expenses of the sewage service. And the recommendation of the accountants were for a stepped 20% increase. The first 10% increase to take effect immediately, with a second 10% increase to take place 1 year subsequent. This ordinance does that. It implements two separate rate increases. The first rate increase of 10% to take effect 45 days after the implementation or the effective date of the ordinance, which under this timeline would be December 3rd. And then the second 10% increase, so December 3rd, 2017, with a second rate increase to take place December 3rd, 2018. Within the ordinance itself, it lays out the rates, both the current rates, the new rates to be effective immediately, and then the step 2 rates to take effect 1 year subsequent. These rates are all based upon the accounting study, and should be, I don't know if it's completely proper to use this term or not, but actuarially sound for the ongoing operations of the sanitary sewer board. I'll take questions.
Tom, another element of this, and you've got a very good whereas, I think it's the fourth whereas. Whereas legislative enactments require utility companies to maintain a working capital fund equal to 1/8 of the operating revenues in surplus. We have not been in compliance with that.
That's correct. We're out of compliance.
A good part of this two-tiered increase that we're looking at, some of it will address operational revenue deficiencies, but a good chunk of what we're doing is to comply with the mandate of the state of West Virginia.
The legislature is imposing this mandate upon not just the municipality, but all sanitary sewer systems, whether municipal, PSCs, or privately owned. And you are correct, sir. We are currently not in compliance with that statutory mandate.
And let me observe something else so that the folks on social media will know. These funds are restricted funds. We have 4 separate statutory corporations that are our 4 utility boards. The increase of these sewer funds has nothing to do with Flowers in Buckhannon. It has nothing to do with the Colonial Theater or the paving of Trader's Alley or the dog park or Jawbone Park or any park or buying playground equipment or paving streets or anything. These are strictly resources that are dedicated for sanitary sewer operations.
I hate to let facts get in the way of good stories, but yes, sir, money that comes into the sanitary sewer board must stay within the sanitary sewer board.
And it's very, very strictly regulated. I mean, that's audited, and it's...
We're audited. We're still overseen by the West Virginia Public Service Commission. But anyway.
And I would note, just for the record as well, that there are some recent changes. Senate Bill, I want to say maybe it was 247 or so on, passed during the 2015, changed a little bit of the dynamic on how municipalities can change that. We're not quite subject to the exact same level of oversight by the PSC as we used to be. However, these are still appealable, and although they are granted a presumption, given the size of our system, they are granted a presumption of reasonableness and a presumption of validity since they constitute less than a 25% increase in the rates.
That's correct. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I don't want to pay any more for sewage than anybody else. I mean, but the fact of the matter is we opened a sewer plant in 1987 with a 40-year life expectancy. That's 30 years into it. The estimated life of our sewer plant right now, according to our engineers, and we have 2 of them who work for the sanitary board, is that we have 50 years right now left in the life of our plant. Now you may wonder, how could that be possible? It's been because we have been good stewards, and our staff out of that sewer plant, largely under the supervision of Sam Ludlow, has taken extremely excellent measures to continue to extend the life of that plant. That's what makes us successful in this endeavor. This will still, even with this 2-tier increase, right now we are about the 30th percentile among all of the providers of sanitary sewage services, the 368 of them, I believe, in the state of West Virginia. We're at the 30th percentile, lowest. So even after the 2 tiers go into effect, if none of the other 367 entities did any rate increase in the next 2 years, we would still be in the lowest half of all of those entities.
Yeah, I think this puts us closer to the mean. It certainly does not. And I think it's important as well, Mr. Mayor, to point out and commend the department for doing so many things in-house that have saved money. Particularly the recent work on the separator tank, right? The clarifier tank, I'm sorry, that saved $150,000. I mean, that's, those are kind of things, those are kind of initiatives that are limiting the need to what it is that the ordinance proposes. Otherwise, we'd be in a situation where we'd come back and have to raise rates even higher and even more frequently. It was some 3 years. It had been 6 years,
6 years
without a rate increase, and now there was one last year that just proved to be too small.
We didn't invoke the full increase that had been recommended by our accounting firm, who did the rate study, because we didn't want to hit the customers any harder than what we had to. So we limped by for another year. There's not much more limping left. We're ready to crawl.
And in order to be whatever this equivalent of actuarially sound is, I would counsel that this is a necessary ordinance to it.
I would encourage anyone in the public, if you have questions about this ordinance or how these various utility boards function, please just don't believe what somebody posts on Facebook. Come down to City Hall. We are transparent. We'll explain everything to you and show you everything we've got. But this is something we had to do. So, we have a motion and a second. The motion is on the table. Are there any other questions for Tom O'Neill? Jerry Arnold is also here. Andy Jenkins is here. They're all capable of answering whatever questions you have, whether it's the work to be done, the accounting side, the legal side, everybody's here. Questions? I'm going to call for the question.
There wasn't a motion.
I thought we did a motion.
It's the first
already.
reading, so do you need a motion?
Oh, yeah, we absolutely need a motion. I think we already did that. May I have a motion? Mrs. Albaugh is making a motion that we approve on first reading ordinance 419. May I have a second to that motion?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Rylands. Now, is there any further discussion on the motion? I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving ordinance 419 on first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. The minutes will reflect that the motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.
That takes us, I thought we were had a motion. Getting all motioned out. I second that motion. F4 is a recommendation from the Facade Committee, somewhere in this packet of stuff. Let me see if I can put my notes on it. You got it? Thank you. This is a request by Opportunity House. They are making about $8,000 worth of repairs to their place right beside Stockard Youth Center, to their facade. They have applied for one of our $2,500 grants. The committee unanimously recommended to the council that this facade grant be approved. I would entertain a motion that the council now approve the Opportunity House request. So moved. I have a motion by Mr. Rylands. May I have a second to his motion?
Second.
I have a second by Council Lady Capari. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing of the need for none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of the motion authorizing a payment upon completion of work of $2,500 to Opportunity House, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. I think we have already done F5. We've discussed it. I don't know if there's any action necessary, but I wanted you all to have that opportunity. Does anybody get anything else on the, the legal ad will be ready to run by the first of next week. The last thing, which is another good thing, is I need authorization from the council to sign the agreement to allow us to go forth with the next phase of our Gateway West project. Everybody knows what the long-term plan is here. In the next couple of 3 years, when you get off that first Buckhannon exit, you will immediately have nice pavement, sidewalks on both sides of the entrance coming off the ramp, period lighting. The flow will begin off of that first ramp and will run right into West Virginia Wesleyan College. You know, everything will look like it's all downtown. So this is a grant. I need to be authorized to sign the agreement with the state. I would entertain a motion that I be authorized to sign that agreement.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Skinner. May I have a second to his motion? I have a second by Council Lady Capari. Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing of the need for none, I'm going to call for that question. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, like sign. Motion carries. That takes us down to comments and announcements by our council. And Mrs. Albaugh, A is for Apple, but also Albaugh. You get to go first.
Great job, Jerry and Tom and Amby, getting all that information ready for Tom and doing this sewer thing, getting it going. And also the vehicles.
Might be the only person to say thank you.
David knows how much work is involved in it. And also, we did a little late, but we had to wait over at the Senior Center today. The Veterans Collaboration Committee, the ones that could be there, they participated in a POW MIA presentation. And I was really proud to see Lieutenant Loudon to come by today, and I forgot to tell him. But anyways, we had a nice turnout. The people over there enjoyed it. They want us to come back and do something else one day. So
Sorry, I missed it.
That's all right. That's all right.
Thank you, Mrs. Albaugh. Anything else, Mary?
No, sir.
Council Lady Capari.
I want to thank Jerry and his crew for doing a great job on the second annual Truck Fest. It was successful again. All the kids just love that. Some adults too, I'm sure. I want to thank the Elks Club. They took part in the Stockard Youth Center's Children's Festival, and they donated $650 to Stockard Youth Center, and they also filled 200 backpacks full of school supplies, drug awareness materials, and snacks. And that was headed up by Donna Matthews and Michael Levacy, and I'm thrilled that they did that for the children at Stockard Youth Center. And we're working on, my decorating committee suggested doing some decorations downtown. I'm not personally doing it, but the city crews are going to decorate downtown for Fall Festival, and I'm just thrilled to death over that. And I'm having a meeting for holiday decorating and with some ideas starting for Christmas. And I would like people to volunteer and come Monday evening on September 26th here at 5:30 for a meeting to discuss holiday.
What's the date again? Sorry.
Monday, September 26th at 5:30.
I think your new banners came in.
My new
Right.
banners have come in.
I say her.
I love that.
They're really all of ours. She's got a lot of ownership in those banners.
That's right.
Mr. Islands, you're next.
At today's Create Buckhannon meeting, we awarded the first Community Policing Award to Mark Stewart, and I think he was appreciative, and this is out of a lot of conversations and how to communicate what we're looking for in a positive way, and hold these people up that are doing the job that we think aligns or builds trust and cohesion with the community. And I gave an example of someone, I believe is David Rowan, he's a VIP volunteer, but he was at the parish house and he saw some suspicious character when there was a policeman pulling someone else over on College Avenue. Because of his relationship with the police and the mutual respect they had for each other, they responded to his call saying there was this character, found out he had some warrants and he was taken care of. So it came to us that how much better off we would be if we had more of those kind of mutual relationships, where if you see something, you've got a contact where you can call the police and they trust your judgment and respond in kind. And then, obviously, I think the most effective policing strategy is one that builds trust and cohesion with the community instead of what we're seeing around the country today. So I think, Mark epitomizes that, and the police force in general seeking CALIA accreditation and wanting to do a good job in that regard. And the chief was there today, and Mark's family, so congratulations to him.
That's fantastic. Appreciate the organization recognizing our own. Mr. Skinner.
Mayor, I just would like to thank Delegate Hamilton and now former Senator Bob Ashley, I've known for several years. He was up the street this evening at the county courthouse sharing basically the same information that Delegate Hamilton brought down here this evening about the upcoming road bond election on October 7th. And a lot of organizations, including our Chamber of Commerce, have endorsed it, and I'm proud to say that our City Council has now endorsed it. And I know I join everybody else here and encourage people to vote yes on that issue. Early voting starts tomorrow at the Upshur County Courthouse, and then your polling place on October the 7th. So that's important for the future of this state, and also this region being part of the Corridor H region. We of all people need to be supportive of that initiative. And one other thing, I've been asked, I think 2 or 3 times in church on Sunday, and so I'll, not that I need to be asked to say it, but I will. It's kind of like you say what everybody else has been thinking all summer. We need to, and I mentioned this at Chamber on Monday, we need to go around this community when we see our flower workers working and thank them immensely. This community has looked the best it has looked in years. The flowers have been stunning this year. Buckhannon's downtown is absolutely beautiful, and I had a message on Facebook from Misty Bennett. Many of you know Misty. She's with BC Bank, and her daughter's a senior at Buckhannon Upshur, plays basketball, and she's being recruited to play basketball by different schools around the region, out of state and in state, and those recruiters have come to Buckhannon. They have taken her to lunch, they've met with the family, and they are blown away by how nice our town looks. And Misty shared on Facebook that her daughter and she both are very proud to claim Buckhannon home and all that it has and all that it does to make the folks that visit here and live here feel proud of it. So I promised Misty I would pass along her remarks, as well as Bob Brain and his wife at church, who Bob started the flowers way back when it was a Rotary project.
Yeah.
So I think we need to thank Robbie Barber and all the guys that work hard on the flowers. We really do. We really enjoy a great quality of life, and they're a big part of it.
Well said. Mr. Thomas begged out tonight, but Dr. Susan Alloy is here.
Speaking of Robbie Barber, congratulations on his recent marriage.
That's right.
Yep.
Oh,
Get in his
last
car.
Saturday. That's it.
That's all you had, huh? Geez, I thought you were going to wear a shopping
Makeup.
half hour, you know. Now, I have no prepared statement, but to echo some of Robbie's comments, we had a lot of visitors in on September 9th with HaHa, who universally were complimentary about our town. And then if we didn't need any more pumping up on Tuesday, Kathy Burton and Beth McCoy from the West Virginia Municipal League were here. And we spent from 10 o'clock till about 2 o'clock with them, taking them around. That we are being assessed for possible sponsoring of the West Virginia Municipal League Convention next August. It's never been held in any place our size before.
Most of the time it's in Morgantown or Charleston.
Morgantown, Charleston, the Greenbrier, Wheeling, at Ogilvy Park, bigger places. But we'll find out at the October board meeting. At the very least, they want us to sponsor a quarterly board meeting, which still brings 50, 60 people to town, but if we could pull off the 400 or 500 folks, that would be a real coup. So it would also make us very busy in preparation for that next August, if that happens. We also, yesterday and today, I spent considerable time with the folks from, I don't think I kept my card, from Swedish national TV. They didn't want to be outdone by the Germans. So they came in and they just went on and on about, geez, how do we get things like this in Stockholm? And I said, what, how many people you got? And they said, 6 million or something like that. I said, well, we can't, we're 6,000, so we won't worry about taking care of Stockholm. We got a lot of compliments from them as well. The dog park continues to get massive use. If you haven't been down there and see the good fun going on down there, you're missing out. Lastly, we did the Timmy Tree dedication. 2 more things. The Timmy Tree dedication this evening is recognition of those who are in recovery from addiction and continuing to lessen the stigma that is associated with people battling substance abuse. Sometimes those folks in recovery win, sometimes they lose. And there's a stigma even in death with someone who dies from an overdose. There's almost this, if you hear about a young person dying and they're 24, 25 years old, and it's like, oh my God, what happened? And then the response is, well, he overdosed. Didn't you know he had a drug problem? It's like, oh, I feel so much better because he died from an overdose as opposed to, dying from cancer or in a car accident or something like that. What a horrible indictment of our society that we think that way. We have to change the way we think. And I hope I didn't drill Mr. Dusenberry too much with we need help. We need financial assistance to help the Matt Kerner programs of the world succeed. And we need money, we need funding from our federal and state governments in order for that to happen that way. The last thing I'll ask is that if you look at the back of your packet, one of my bosom buddies, and Susan's too, Shirley Fortney, I didn't solicit this. I ran into her a couple of times doing a couple of my walks down at the river trail, and her grandchildren, who are from Florida, were sent up by their folks, so that Shirley was looking after them. And she sent this note to me Sunday evening. David, I just wanted to share with you our granddaughter Kyler's perspective on Buckhannon. Kyler absolutely loves, all caps, loves this town. She constantly raved about Buckhannon being the best place in the world. She particularly named the following. The book kiosks were amazing to her. She exchanged books several times during the week they were here and was continually spying a new book kiosk and counting them several times. The walking trail, as you saw, was a hit. I hope it was okay that I permitted her feeding the wildlife. Even if her brother tried to eat the corn, it was a treat for them both. She was also pleased by the dog park aspect. Both children loved the city park, which we visited several times during the week. She named it the best city park in the world. So thank you and the city for your dedication to our community in providing phenomenal facilities for Buckhannon's citizens and for refugees from the Florida hurricane. Kyler says this is the best place ever, Shirley. So those are the kinds of things that we need to share with our employees. And our next, the paychecks that just went out today, everybody's getting a copy of this message. So you all should take great pride that these efforts that everybody is embarking on to make this a better place to live. And every once in a while, somebody actually appreciates it. So that's all I have. Does anybody else have anything for the good of the order? We're out of here before 9 o'clock, 2 meetings in a row. I would entertain a motion that we adjourn.
So moved.
I have a motion by Mrs. Capri, seconded by Mr. Rylands. Discussion on the motion. They're all leaving without me. Those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Those opposed, like sign. We are adjourned.